So first bullet point, you need to know your numbers. You need to know how profitable each product is. A business cannot run not knowing what profit it is making. You just can't do it. You can't be a successful business and grow your business without knowing exactly how much money you are making. Okay. You need to know, second bullet point, you need to know that not only are your costs covered, but you are making at least minimum wage, and that is the very minimum. But ideally, a good wage plus a good profit on top of that. Oh, excuse me, I've got runny nose. It's the emotion, so emotional. So you need to know that you're paying, you've got enough funds to pay yourself for the time you are spending on your business. Okay, because if you don't, if you're pricing so low because, and we'll talk about competitors in a minute, if you're pricing so low because so-and-so up the road, you want to be £5 cheaper than they are, but you're not actually making any money, then you might as well stop and go and get a job, honestly. Tough love, Annie, coming out of here. But you're not running a business. You're running yourself into the ground. And this is the main reason for a demotivated baker is to do all the hours, be up till 2 in the morning finishing an order and find at the end of the day that you've got no money to spend on anything. That is the worst feeling in the world. A good feeling is spending, a good few hours on some quality cakes and knowing that you're being paid really well for it, and then you can go on holiday with the money that you've got. That's a good feeling. That doesn't lead to demotivation, does it? So, but you need to know that you're making that profit. You can't just pluck figures out of the air or get someone else's price. You've got to know the numbers yourself. I'll go through how you know the numbers in a minute. Okay. Oh, good evening, Varsha. Good evening. A couple of people in the group previously have said, what's the going rate for this? Or what's the reasonable price for this? Meaningless. It really is meaningless. If I said to you, what's a reasonable price for a loaf of bread? We'd get however many people on here, that many different answers, and everyone else you ask, it would have a different answer. Because the going rate depends, as I've said on here, on a whole load of variables. The type of bread, the quality of the bread, what goes into the bread, where it's made. And I'll put on the end here, think Lidl and Waitrose. The going rate in Lidl is different from the going rate in Waitrose, which is different from the going rate in Fortnum and Mason's. I think in the highest grocer I can think of, highest price grocer. So saying what's a reasonable price for this, it depends who you're asking. You ask 100 people what a reasonable price for a brownie is, you're going to get all sorts of different answers, because the price that they are willing to pay is not necessarily a reasonable price for you anyway. The price they are willing to pay will depend on how much they want that brownie, on whether they can make brownies themselves, so don't need to buy them. There's all sorts of variables. So saying, so thinking, oh, what's the going rate for this? Meaningless, honestly. The going rate for you, for your products, is how much it costs for you to make them plus profit. That's the going rate. Any less and you're selling yourself way short. Okay, told you there'd be tough love this evening. A lot of it depends on my fourth bullet point here, and I'm always going on about this, and it's ideal client. Now, when I first started realizing or finding out what this ideal client thing is, my first thought was, oh, that's ridiculous. I'll sell to anyone who wants it, which of course we will on the whole. But ideal client is much more sophisticated than that. It's who you are aiming your product at. Now, on the PDF, I've put a link here to my session that I did on ideal client. So if you want to know a little bit more about it, click on that link and it'll take to my YouTube where I did a live in this group, and I explain a bit more about what an ideal client is. But again, we're thinking, ooh, has that gone on there? Oh, it's gone now. The little thing stayed. But again, we're thinking Lidl and Waitrose. People in Lidl aren't going to pay the same for a brownie as people in Waitrose. And they're not going to be the same as people in Fortnum and Masons. So you have to know who you are aiming your product at. So I've just put a couple of questions here. Are they those who just want the cheapest of whatever it is they want? I want a brownie, but I just want the cheapest that's out there. Or are they those who are willing to pay for that extra level of service and quality? So people who want brownies, but they want it gift boxed because it's a present for somebody. Or they want, I don't know, a certain flavour that they can't make themselves. Or, you know, who are you aiming your product? Are you aiming your product at, oh, sorry, it's my cat. Wind out the way, you. Are you aiming your product at families? I think most people that perhaps if you're doing birthday cakes and treat boxes and things like that, you're generally going to be aiming at families. But what type of families? Where do these families shop normally? Are you aiming at your Lidl customer, or are you aiming at your Waitrose customer? There is obviously a cost of living crisis out there, but not everybody is as affected as the media want us to think they are. Now that seems quite harsh, but products, you know, high-end products like Porsche, Gucci, Harrods, all, you know, off the top of my head, they are still going, they are still selling. If the cost of living crisis was that bad, all those high-end, you know, traders would have disappeared by now, but they haven't. People are still willing to pay for quality goods. People are still willing to pay. I looked up the price of cinema tickets earlier today, and for two people to go to the cinema on a Saturday evening cost in my local cinema about 25 quid, which once you've added sort of popcorn and drinks and stuff, probably, I don't know, 50 quid for an evening. People will pay that, you know. So it's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative. They'll pay that. So are they likely to pay 20, 25 pounds for a lovely gift box of brownies for someone's gift? Probably, yeah. So it's all relative. Don't think that cheapest people want cheap all the time. They don't. They don't. So if you don't know much about Ideal Client, or you're not sure what it's all about, have a look at my video there and it will explain it in a little bit more detail. Competitors, I do actually have a video on competitors. I should have put the link on there. But and a lot of people in the group realize this already, that you can't compare yourself to somebody else. If you give customers reasons to buy from you, then they will buy from you. If you produce, you know, good products that your customers love, they will come back to you. If they know you are reliable, if they know that that you will, you know, answer their messages within a day and they haven't got to chase you, that kind of thing. If they trust you, it comes back to know, like, and trust. Some of you might have heard that phrase. Some of you might have heard me using that phrase. But you get your customers to know a bit about you, that when they like you, and then once they bought from you, they trust you. And then you get loyalty on top of that. So the customers who are loyal to you are going to buy from you, whether or not so-and-so down the road is a £5 cheaper, because you produce a product that they know is a good one. I mean, look, for example, you go to an industrial estate, or, you know, one of these big shopping things out of town, the chances are you'll have a Skoda garage next to a Porsche garage or something like that. Two car garages right next to each other. Are Porsche cutting their prices because they want to attract the Skoda customers? No, they're not. They're not. They know what their prices are. They know the kind of people they attract, as do Skoda and Ford and, all the different variety of car. Is it variety? Breed? No, what is it? Anyway, all the different types, they all have their ideal customers as well. Every business that you can think of, particularly, high street businesses that you have some interaction with, they will have a demographic that they aim their marketing at. They have their ideal customers. I've said this before, you might have heard me say this, but someone said to Lamborghini, the big posh car people, why don't you advertise on television? And their answer was, our customers don't watch television. Simple as that. They put their advertising in places where they know their customers are going to see it. Okay, so that's a bit about ideal client. And that's a bit about competitors. If you give customers reasons to buy from you, they will. It's not always about the price. Okay. Couple of times I've had to have things done in my garden. I had a few years ago. This is relevant, by the way. I'm not just waffling. A few years ago, when I moved into my house, there were 5 or 6 conifers at the end of my garden, which when I moved in was quite nice because it made the garden quite private. But if any of you have ever had conifers, you'll know that they are an absolute pain to maintain. They grow really quickly. You have to get someone up a ladder to cut them. So, hang on, let's have a look before I carry on with that. Well, lots of people watching. Hello, everyone that's watching. This is fabulous. Comparison is the killer of joy. Yes, Claire, you're quite right. Kerry says, my husband works for a Porsche dealership. They're doing very well at the moment. There you go, you see. Yeah, there are funds out there. It's the media that is telling us that there's no money. We know, on the whole, not to listen to the media for a lot of things, don't we? Anyway, so I wanted to get rid of these conifers. And I had absolutely no idea how much it would cost. No idea. No idea. I didn't know whether it would be 100 or 1,000. I really had no idea. And if you think about it for a minute, a lot of people that come to you for cakes, this is sort of a side point, are the same. They have no idea how much you are going to quote them. So if you quote them and they say, oh, that's a bit above my budget, they're not being rude or anything on the whole. It's because they really had no idea how much it would be. So these trees in my garden, I got 3 quotes because I was a head teacher and you're always taught to get 3 quotes. It's a good practice, actually, 3 quotes. And I think the highest was over 1,000. No, in fact, it was 2,000. 2,000 was the highest quote. And then I think we had 900 and then 500. So it was quite varied. And in the end, this is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I was umming and ahhing because it was a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of funds at the time. My next door neighbour said, oh, I know someone who'll do it for you for 100. I should have known. I think you sort of know what's going to happen here. So chap came round and he said, oh, yeah, I'll take all the branches off, blah, blah, blah. He took the branches off, left them on my lawn. And long story short, he disappeared. I didn't pay him any money, luckily. But various circumstances meant that he had to leave the county. And he left all those things on my lawn. So the moral of the tale is, you know this already, the cheapest is not the best. And in the end, I had to contact one of the other companies to come and finish the job off, and it cost me a lot more in the end. So you get where I'm going with this. People don't always trust the cheapest. to some people, particularly when you're talking about things like wedding cakes, those of us that do wedding cakes, not everybody wants the cheapest. People have certain criteria for wedding cakes. And although budget does figure, it's not always the most important aspect of it. So don't think that it's not always about the price. Okay. Yeah. Oh, hello, Joe. Joe's there. Hello, Joe. And the last point I've put on here, you do not owe anyone affordability. You do not owe it to anyone to have a price that they can afford. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure someone posted in our group. I'm sure it was in our group. Someone posted that one of the bake-off competitors, was it Harry Bakes? I might have got some of the details of this wrong, but he was selling his buttercream recipe, I think it was. And he was selling it for £15. And a couple of people were sort of discussing it. I think it's got condensed milk in it or something. I don't know. I didn't look at it too closely, but the one or the couple of comments that I did notice that made my eyebrow raise was someone put in, oh, that's far too much, £15. He should have put it down for £5. Why did he put it for 15? That's far too much. And my thought was, actually, he doesn't owe you affordability. He can price it at whatever he wants. I'm sure there were plenty of people out there willing to pay that. You know, when you think that a cinema ticket is about that in some places, you know, and it's all relative. Just because you can't afford it doesn't make it too expensive. I had someone 6 months ago, I don't know, it was last year sometime. I was selling my finance course. I won't go into details about the course because I'm doing it again this year. But basically, she private messaged me and said, can you help me with my self-assessment, my tax return, because it's stressing me out. And I said, oh, I've got just the thing. I've got a course that talks you all the way through it. You know, shows you the paperwork, shows you the forms, and you can buy it, £35. And her reply was, not everyone's got £35. What can you give me for free? So I lost it a bit, to be honest with you. Now, but those of you that know me know that I'm fairly mild-mannered and fairly easygoing. But that what's the phrase? It lit my fuse a little bit because I don't owe anyone affordability. The prices that I put on things are the prices that I work out that I can make a profit at. And the price is also, for courses, is also priced at the time it saves the person it's aimed at. So a course that walks you through submitting your tax return will save some people days of work. Honestly, it will save you days of work, which is quite, you know, it's a thing worth paying for. I would pay for something that saves me 2 days work, definitely. So just because someone says that's too expensive, it's too expensive for them. You don't owe them affordability. Your price is your price. Okay. So it's all these things that I really want people to take on board. I know a lot of you have this on board already. A lot of you know all this already, particularly if you're a bit more experienced, because a lot of this comes with experience. If you're new to your baking business, you might not know all this yet, but you can't know everything at once. You know, it's not something that you can instantly know. You have to, you know, build on what you know, don't you? So these are the kinds of things that you've really got to get on board with. Whatever you price your products at are what your going rate is, and that is your reasonable price. If you cost something and you find that no one buys it, Well, it might be that it's not nothing to do with the price. It might be other aspects, other things. Are you marketing it in the right place? Are you aiming it at the people that you want to buy it? You know, that, for example, I know of, I mean, I do wedding cakes mainly, and I'm moderately average priced as you know, as wedding cakes go. But I know of some wedding cake makers whose minimum spend is 1,000. In fact, I know one, the minimum spend is 2,000. Now, as a silly example, they are not going to advertise their wedding cakes in a Facebook group, are they? In a Facebook group, in a Facebook marketplace group. Because on the whole, people that buy things from Facebook marketplace aren't going to necessarily have £2,000 for a wedding cake. Now, that's a bit of a gross generalization, but you see where I'm going with this. People that pay £2,000 for a wedding cake are going to be, you know, looking in magazines like, you know, I don't know, Tatler and Harper's and Queens and all those kind of higher level. They're going to be working with wedding planners. They're going to be working at, you know, Claridge's venues in London, those kind of things. So, you know, wedding cake makers that have that minimum spend are going to be looking for their clients in certain places and advertising in certain places. So if a product of yours doesn't sell as many as you would like it to sell, think about, have you found the right customer yet? Okay, there's a brilliant thing that I saw about the price of a bottle of water. I don't know if you've seen this. A bottle of water, now it goes something like this. A bottle of water in Costco is 50p. A bottle of water in a supermarket might be 60p. A bottle of water in, I don't know, a fish and chip shop might be £1. A bottle of water in a hotel might be £3. A bottle of water, the same bottle of water in an airport or an airplane is going to be £5. So it's the same bottle of water, but where it's being sold and the people it is being sold to and the expenses that are behind that sale are very, very different. Which is why they can charge the different prices at those different places. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense? I hope that makes sense. A bit. Sniffly nose. Sniffly nose today. Any comments on here? Hang on. If you've got any comments or you want to ask anything, please do. I hope I'm explaining things moderately well. So you need to know your numbers. You need to know how profitable things are. Your price is your price. You don't owe anyone affordability. And please don't, I said this in the wedding cake group. I did a session on pricing there a few weeks ago. And I said, never, 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 never. If I find you doing this, I'll come round to your house and I'll give you a telling off. If you give a quote to someone and they say it's too expensive, never, never say, oh, well, I'll make it less then. No, 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 no. You're devaluing yourself. You're devaluing your product. You are at the behest of your customer and you are being unfair to any customers that have paid the full price. So don't you do that. I know it's annoying when you spend time putting a quote together for a birthday cake, for example, and they do come back and say, oh, I wasn't thinking of paying that much. Okay, fair enough. I mean, you can rather than say, oh, I'll give it to you for less then, you could say, oh, well, what if you have it without the teddy bear on top or whatever it is? Give them an alternative that will cost less for them. Okay, but don't offer the same product at a discount. I've been told by lots of business people, don't give discounts, add more value. Because discounts devalue what you do, but giving more value makes you more valuable. Yeah, that makes sense. So on this PDF that I've got here, some videos for you to watch. Now, I've got one that's on my YouTube channel, and the link is here, Pricing for Profit. And on there, I give you a demo about why you need to know your costs, why your higher selling products may not be your most profitable. Okay, and I give an example of someone selling brownies and cookies, and they get more money in for the brownies than the cookies, but actually when they work out their costs, they find out that the cookie is actually more profitable. But it's all in that video. And then calculating overheads. Now, I'm going to show you my pricing spreadsheet, which is available to buy. I'm selling this one. I'm not giving this one away for free because there's been an awful lot of work that's gone into this. But I will show it to you if I can find it. I've got it somewhere. And I'll show you how I work out my prices. Now, a lot of people have mentioned the cake cost app. Is that what it's called? Which is great. Don't get me wrong. But when I've looked at it, it does the ingredients thing very well. And it asks you to put in your time, and it asks you for a profit percentage, but it doesn't give you any way to work out your overheads. It just says, what are your overheads? Which, if you don't know what they are, you're at a loss. You've got to work those out as well. Okay. And my calculating overheads video will show you how to do that. You know, your electricity, your insurance, all your other bits and pieces that are more tricky to work out. Okay. So watch that video, the calculating overheads, and it will show you. I have my whiteboard out and everything from that one. But my pricing spreadsheet, let me show you. I think it's this one. I think, yes, it is. Hang on, let's just get rid of that. Bear with. I'm going to show you this. So this is my spreadsheet. This is available to buy. I know some people have bought this, but this is how I work mine out. It can be done in Google Sheets. This is a Google Sheet. Or you can, if you buy it, you can actually download it. So you go to File and you download, and you can download it as an Excel. It looks very similar as an Excel. And what we've got here is your cake prices. So obviously it's not as slick as the cake cost app, because you do have to input a bit. So here you input the cost of the particular ingredient. So this is my basic wedding cake tier. So basic sort of Madeira Victoria sponge recipe. And then what I've done, this sort of evolved over a bit of time. So I put in how much it costs for a 6-inch, a 7-inch, an 8-inch, and so on. That's the total, how much the ingredients cost. And then I put on my time to make it £30, which sort of includes the mixing and the bits and pieces. So that's the total for each of my tiers. Okay. And then what I have is a section for any extras. Now on mine, on the example, it's mainly flowers because that's mainly what I do. But you could put extras in for, I don't know, what you might want to do, rainbow sponge or ombre, or adding toppers or edible images, or anything. What the materials cost, oops, how much time is taken. And then up here I put my cost per hour is £30 an hour for making flowers. And then the number that I put in, it then gives me a total, how much that's going to cost to make. And then on the third tab, this gives me my total cost. So I work out the cost. So if, for example, I want, let's say I was doing a 10-inch cake. So the 10-inch, so let's £50. So let's put that as 50. Okay. We're not going to do any stacking because it's a single tier. What might I be doing on that? I might be doing some piping or some lettering or something. Let's say I spend an hour doing some decorating, piping, that kind of malarkey. So that's £30. Packaging, well, it's not going to be 30, is it, for just a cake? So that is going to be the board and the box. Oh, it's been a while since I bought those, and I buy those in bulk. So what are we going to say? Let's say £10 for that, shall we? You're obviously going to work that out properly. Overheads, I'll show you how I work out my overheads very briefly in a minute, but there's the video that you can watch for that. Delivery, the time here is any extra time. So if it's a wedding cake and you're stacking, then the time it takes for that. Delivery mileage, so if it's 20 miles away, I'm going to charge £10 an hour for driving. So there's my delivery cost there. That's my subtotal. Profit, you can put in the percentage of profit that you want, 40%. That's the total cost of the cake. And that there is the total profit. Okay. So it might be that you want just 25% profit, in which case the whole thing comes down. So I know that for that cake, I've made £33, £34 profit. That's on top of my wages. Okay. Now, to some people, £170 for a cake might be too much, but you're spending an hour doing decorating on it. So it's going to have some, you know, some oomph on it. So that's how I work mine out. Okay. Overheads. Some of you might have seen this before. This is, if you buy the spreadsheet, this is the example. Okay. And the video talks you through the example. But basically, you list all your home-based costs that are to do with your business. You then look at the rooms in your house. You divide that by the number of rooms. You then say, what percentage of time do I use that room for my business? For me, my kitchen is only 20% because I'm not baking all the time. I mainly spend my time in here, which is my office, so 95%. Then it all works it all out. Then broadband and mobile phone, the percentage of those. And then all the other bits and pieces. So my business only base. So the insurance up here is home insurance. The insurance down here is business insurance, which obviously all gets charged to the business. Okay. And then we divide here by the number of unit sales, however many is you're going to sell in that time. It's all explained in that overheads video. And then that's what you have to add. So if you're just plucking an overheads figure out of the air, you don't know whether it's covering all these overheads, do you? You've got to work it out. You've got to make sure that you're covering it all. Okay. And then that page is for you to put yours in. So that very basically and very quickly is my spreadsheet. If you do buy the spreadsheet, you get the 2 videos that explain it all. And you have access to me. You can email me if things go wrong and you're not sure. Anyway, so that is the pricing spreadsheet, and you can get that on that link there. And then if you want to do something in a bit more depth and you want to work on not only your pricing, but your ideal client and various other things in a bit more detail and a bit more depth, there are my training days happening this year. For most of you, if you're already established, it'll be the grow your own baking business. Start your own baking business is obviously for people that haven't actually started yet, because that includes kitchen inspections and registering and things like that. But both of these sessions have pricing content. We use the spreadsheet, we talk about ideal clients, we talk about a bit of pricing mindset, all those kinds of things are covered. Because the main aim of those days is to make sure that you're a business owner who bakes and not a baker who just sells. There is a difference with that. I hope that's clear. I hope is that all right? Ooh, any other comments? Oh, lots of people watching. Hello, everybody. It's so lovely to have you all here. everything is making so much sense. Hooray! You know, I was a some of you know I was a teacher for 30 years, primary teacher, and any other primary teachers, big love to you, particularly if you're still doing it. But sometimes you get to the end of the day and a child asks the question, you think, have I made any sense at all? You might have just said. You know, I'm sure if any of your parents, you feel that as well sometimes. So it's great if what I'm actually saying makes sense. That's brilliant. So basically, to sort of sum up, the reason why we now have a rule in the group, which is no asking for pricing. And in fact, I'm also going to delete if anyone does offer a guide price as well. I'm going to look out for that as well. Because saying to someone, well, that's a lovely cake, do you know, I think I'd charge 60 quid for it, is not helping that person at all. You know, comparing to what someone else charges isn't helpful at all. As I've said, and as I've hopefully made really obvious, is you've got to do your own. And in fact, yes, there is a bit of legwork to do. You expect when you have a business to do a bit of legwork, but once you've done the initial bit, so on my spreadsheet, once I'd set all that up, all I now have to do is just make sure that the prices of the ingredients are up to date. Then everything else sorts itself out. It works it all out. And the same with the costing app. If you know your ingredient prices, you just put those in, it does it for you. So the only thing that doesn't do is your overheads, but work those out. Please don't just guess those, because you've got to cover those costs. Okay. So there we go. So this PDF here that I've got here, oh look, there I am, with the links to the various things, is going to be put in the group. I'm going to pin it. I might do it tonight. I might do it in the morning. It depends whether I fall asleep when I get downstairs or not. But it will, within the next day, this will appear so that you can have access to those videos as well. Okay. If you haven't seen the pricing for profit one, do have a look, because it really makes it clear that you really do need to know your numbers. So the pricing spreadsheet, if you want to buy that, the link to that is there. If you want to have a look at more details for the training days, the link to that is on there. I think that one's actually pinned in the group anyway, the training days one. So there we go. So let's just stop that. Here I am again. So I hope that has been useful. So going forward then in the group, where I'm going to be deleting any pricing requests. Let's be kind though. I don't want people to be jumping onto someone's pricing request and, you know, being harsh, because generally people ask for it because they haven't got the confidence to do it. So please point them in the direction of all the things that I'm putting in the group. So in the featured section, in the files, in the guides, point them in that direction if you see anyone asking that. And if necessary, you know, tag me into something and I can guide or whatever. If you've got questions about the process of pricing, that is slightly different, isn't it, than asking what would I charge? So if anyone's got a question about the process of pricing, or things like, how long does it take you to do this? I know a couple of people have put, you know, the cake with the ruffles on. How much would it, you know, how long would it take me? And people have said it's hours, that one. So asking for guidance with that kind of thing, I think is okay. You know, you can sort of say, oh yeah, well, I've done that and it's taken me a couple of hours to do that kind of thing. Because from there, obviously, you can then work out what your time is going to be. But other than that, we will not be doing how much would you charge posts. All right then, my lovelies, I will leave it there. What's time? Let's see. Gosh, it's 10 to 8 already. I was only going to do half an hour. I just talk too much. That's true. So there we go. So you're very welcome, Joe. You're very welcome. Oh, I'm so glad, Claire. I'm so glad they make sense, So it's all there for everyone to use. So, you here this evening, you know where everything's going to be. So please do point people in the direction of things that they will find useful, and help people to get confidence with their pricing, because that is, it is tricky when you're new. And that feeling of sort of dipping your foot in the swimming pool. Ooh, do I want to go in? It is big. It is a big thing, isn't it, to do your own pricing? You're very welcome, everybody. Really. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, everybody. That's great. Yes. So I will do another session at some point on something. I will come back next month and do a session on something else. No doubt. But there we go. I will leave it there for now. Do ask in the group if you do have any questions on anything, well, pricing or otherwise, really. Anything home baking business related. It's yeah, you're a lovely bunch, and you're very helpful to everybody that's asking. So keep it up, because it's great. It warms my heart. All right, I will leave it there, because I've got to go and have some dinner now. I'm hungry. And I will see you in the group, and have a lovely, Tuesday evening. Have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you soon. All right, everybody. Bye.